All right, so we are here with Miss Jen Gosselin. We are starting a new series for Women's History Month. I'm so excited to start this series and so excited with our first guest because she is near and dear to our hearts here at Winters Mill High School. When I thought about, really showcasing women, she's one of the first women that came to my mind because she is the first female athletic director in Carroll County history. When she came in, one of the first things as being a principal here, they showed me her article. Was like one of the first things that they showed me. I'm like, wow, okay, she's a big deal, And they were like, no, Jen Gosling, she's great. She's had all these accomplishments athletically and beyond. So since working with her, she's been outstanding. Jen knows I joke with her all the time about her Hall of Fames and all the Hall of Fames that she's in athletically in the county. She's done a lot of things, but Jen, thank you so much for doing this. We're going to try to jump in with the first question and just tell the people a little bit about, your job title. We know you're athletic director here at Williamsville High School, but how long you've been doing it and kind of like what that job entails.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. My job title is a coordinator of athletics and facilities, which is most commonly known as the athletic director. But so I am responsible for all of our athletic events. I am scheduling. I work with officials, security, buses, online registrations, making sure proper forms are in, physicals are up to date. I line the fields. I prepare, like all fields, not just stadium fields. I prepare for any events in our gym. I'm responsible for the facility use in our school, and as everybody knows, our school is used all the time. So I work with outside groups and in-house groups, and for outside use and inside use. So this is my fourth year, and I'm almost through this one, and it's been great.
Awesome. So you put it very mildly, but there are tremendous amounts of things that you all have to do every day. When you talk about fields, there is several practice fields that we have. There's a game field that has to be maintained and upkept. We have a track that's fairly new and been refurbished. So there's a lot that goes on, and that's not even to count the indoor facilities that we have that we have to upkeep as well. So that's all in a given day, along with a plethora of other things that you're over and in charge of here in the building. So it's a lot. You put it mildly, but it's a lot, especially now during COVID-19 season is very, very difficult. Tell me a little bit about your background. I mean, I know a little bit about it, but tell me a little bit about your background, where you grew up, where you went to school, your upbringing, your high school experience, those type of things.
My parents were born and raised in Baltimore City, and when they got married and wanted to start a family, they decided to move out of the city because they wanted a house with a yard, and so they moved us, and I grew up in Carroll County. I know I'm going to try. I'm really being honest when I tell you, like, I loved my childhood. I had a really good childhood, and I know it's going to sound like I'm painting like a Norman Rockwell picture, but it really was good. I grew up in the 70s, so my dad was the breadwinner. He went and worked all day. My mom stayed home with us until my younger sister was in second grade. Then she went back to work because she just felt it was important to be home. My mom, we always had family dinners together, which is rare nowadays, but we managed to do it even though we were involved with things. We always managed to have dinner together. My mom was a great cook. She still is. I call her the MacGyver in the kitchen. Like, she could take 3 ingredients and make a full course meal, which is awesome. It's just a lot of laughing. I have a brother and 2 sisters, and we're still close to this day. On some Sundays, we'll go to my parents' house and have breakfast, and we'll see each other. it was a good neighborhood. The kids, like, we all played together. We played big neighborhood hide and seek, sled riding. We played games like big football games, basketball, baseball games. It was a lot of fun, riding our bikes. My mom had a special whistle that she whistled when dinner was ready. I mean, that was the kind of place we grew up in. High school was awesome. I mean, I really loved it. I had good friends. We played on the same teams. I was involved in groups and clubs, and the teachers were great. To this day, there's some I still will talk to, and the positive impact with my teachers, and just my high school. Like, that's why I want kids to get involved. Like, why I always push that, because my high school days were great, and I want that for everybody.
Yeah, excellent. So, what were the sports that you were excelled in so much here in Carroll County?
Well, I mean, growing up, like I said, 70s and 80s, there weren't a lot of I don't know if I had the opportunities that like the kids nowadays have with all these club sports and all these, like, any sport you can think of. There's a travel team or a club team. I really didn't start playing like organized. Like, I played field hockey in high school, and I didn't really start until like high school. Basketball, that was something different. Basketball, there were like leagues when we were younger, so I did play basketball since I was little. I ran track, and I think I played softball when I was little. I did things that that offered, the things that were offered. I would try different things.
Right. So, I guess for me, what got you interested in, like, I know you probably weren't in high school and like, hey man, I want to be an athletic director. Like, so when did that change for you on like your career path, on motivating you to become an athletic director? Like, what was that motivating factor to get you in that direction?
I think, like, athletics has been huge in my life, and it's always been positive. Like, I'm lucky that it's always been a positive experience. It paid for my college education. I met people I would have never met without it. I traveled places I would have never traveled without athletics. So I think in the back of my head, back then, there weren't a ton of opportunities. Yeah, you could be an athletic director, but I didn't think of that. In college, I was really interested in psychology. I'm still, like, I love the way, like, one of my favorite pastimes, especially at the beach, is sitting and watching people. I love watching dynamics. I love watching what they do. In this case, I just am interested and curious. And I always loved, like, human behavior in the mind. I think that's really interesting. So I loved all of my psychology classes. And one of the things that I thought, sports psychology would be really cool. Like, why does, this team perform better on Thursdays rather than Tuesdays? And, I thought it'd be really interesting, but a lot of people, including my professors, said, the market's not very large. It's a really, really narrow, and I don't even think it's as prevalent now either, but then it was not at all. And it's not like I put it on the back burner, but I was trying to rack my brain, like, what can I do? I think one of the motivating factors, one of the things that hit me where I really knew I wanted athletics in my life, like, for the long haul, in some way, shape, or form. A few years out of college, I moved to Reading, Pennsylvania, and on the outskirts of it. And I had the opportunity to coach in this league. It's the acronym is PAL. It's the Police Athletic League, and it's not as large now, but it's almost like Big Brothers. Like, they help inner city youth, like who struggle and with homework and stuff. But this league was a way for them to play sports. So I had an opportunity to coach these young teenage girls, like, basketball, and it was so awesome and so great, and it opened my eyes a lot. I was never sheltered as, like, a kid, like, knowing that people lived like this, but I never did, and I didn't have friends who lived like this. And when I would drive them home sometimes after a practice, if I had to, like, they were very open with me, and I saw the struggles and baggage that they had, but I never saw it when they played. Like, I saw such joy when they played. And I think then, like, in my early 20s, I realized, like, athletics, it really doesn't discriminate who it like athletics in general doesn't discriminate who it reaches.
Mm-hmm.
Athletics, I mean, it doesn't matter. Athletics doesn't care how much money you make or the car you drive or the color of your skin or where you live. It's a way, like, if you look at some teams, it's like a melting pot of like so many different people. And I reflected back to a lot of different teams that I had, and I thought, yeah, it really is really interesting. Like, athletics is it's really cool. I know it's just games and sports, but it touched me, and I thought, you know what, I do want athletics in my life in some way, shape, or form. So I think that was what motivated me to like keep figuring out, finding my path and which way it would go.
Yeah, I mean, things you talk about is it seems as though to me like that's just a core passion of yours. In regards to how much you tried to move away from it or whatever, it kept coming back to you that's an all-out passion of yours, and you wanted to be involved in that, in the work in that atmosphere every day. So that's awesome. What did it take anything special, Jen, to get to where you are? Like, I know you went to college and those type of things. What did it take for you to get the athletic director's job? Like, what went into that for those that may be interested in doing something similar?
Yeah. You want to be a teacher, you need your teaching certification. You want to be a doctor, you need a medical degree. Like, with being an athletic director, believe it or not, you don't need a specific certification. You actually start getting certifications in this job after you get the job, which is kind of funny. But a lot of the qualifications, are a bachelor's degree, experience coaching, in the head coaching position, things like that. So when I moved back to Maryland, the school I worked in, I was a head coach for 2 different sports, for girls basketball and for track. So I had that experience. I have a bachelor's of science. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I was assistant to the athletic director there for a few years. So I was able to, run events and look at that, that aspect. Turnover is really low in this position. People get this job and they don't want to leave it. They so it's really rare. So when this position opened up, I can't say it enough. The timing couldn't have been better for me. My own 2 kids were grown. One was ready to graduate college. The other was a sophomore in college. So I thought, if I want to do this job well, because I knew what it entailed and I knew the evening hours, I would have never been able to do this 100% if my own kids were young, because I take pride in being a mom and my kids are the most important people in my lives. And I never wanted to jeopardize like that, like for me raising them. So the timing couldn't have been better. And they were so supportive of me doing this. And so what I did is this job opened up and I applied hoping, that, just because I'm not a teacher, I'm hoping that doesn't matter. Never said it in the qualifications. So my fingers were crossed and I got the interview. So I basically approached it like I would, like playing a big game or running in a big race. I reached out to people who understood this position or who were really good at interviews, and I met with them and we practiced and we went over things that might come up and things that I need to understand and know. So that was so helpful. And then I just practiced. I rehearsed it. I tried to find my own. I didn't want to like not show them who I was, but I practiced like I would as an athlete, and the interview came and I felt comfortable because I had that practice and I didn't go in, with any type of arrogance. I just went in and I attacked it, and I'm so grateful I got the job. I love this job. I really do. And now I understand why the turnover is so low.
Of course. Yeah, it is like Game of Thrones. If a position opens up,
it is.
It's like, it's tough to,
it's a coveted position. Everybody wants it.
Yeah, and in Carroll County is just is different than any other, in some other counties. I know where I was at in Baltimore City, like being an athletic director was a part of other stuff that you did. So you still had to have a full-time position in the school, along with the athletic director was just like another piece or a stipend that you would get paid for, but it wasn't a full-time uh, position. So
That's how it was here for a long time.
yeah,
And they turned it to a full-time position and then added administrative duties to it. So it really has grown from when I was a high school student. It turned into full-time, but for a long time, athletic directors a lot of times were the phys ed teachers.
right. Well, it's better the way it is now because, like I said, it's too much going on, and we have too many sports offerings for it not to be a full-time position. I've seen that firsthand. All the stuff that you have to do on it, it is a lot. Speaking about that, it's a good segue to the next question. Is like, what is the most difficult? I know for me what would be the most difficult, but for you, you might not say that. But it is a grind with the amount of evenings and just weekend events that can be going on throughout the course of a school year that you don't really get a whole lot of downtime, with these, 3C sports seasons. But that would be for me. Like, what would you say is the biggest or the toughest part of your job, and what's the most rewarding part of it?
I mean, if you're talking about this year, just only this year, there's a lot of difficult things that we're dealing with. Holy cow. But in general, I'm going to say the most difficult are the parents. And I'm not trying to say that all parents are just, big, ogres who yell at games, but it's the parent complaints who question our coaches. They think they know, more about, the sport. And if they did, then they should have applied for the coaching position. They want their kids to be the superstar. They think they are Division One, which don't get me started on the whole Division One overrated thing like that. Like they think everything Division One or bust, and they want their, playing time's not right. He's better than Jimmy, and it's tough. It's tough to have those, to tell them, the dad, hey, Jimmy might sit on the bench at a Division III school. It's hard to not to kind of burst their bubble. So you have to have that difficult conversation sometimes when we have those parent complaints. But it really is the parents, and sometimes I wish parents would just sit and enjoy watching their kids compete. And I sometimes wish that they would. And I'm not saying all. A lot of them do, and I do have really good parents. But I think that's the most difficult part of my job. I think if they had conversation with their kids, because sometimes I think it means more to the parent than it does to the kid. A lot of times kids play sports just for the social reason. They want to play because their friends are on the team and it's fun. They don't want to do anything after high school, but their parents have different agendas. So I think the communication sometimes parents have, are living vicariously through them and have blinders on. I'm fortunate in my job, though, that I've worn a lot of hats. I was an athlete. I'm a mom of an athlete. I was a coach, and now I'm an athletic director. So if I have athletes who come in, I can put that hat on. I've been there. When I have coaches who come in, I can put that hat on. I've been there. And the same with parents. I've been there. I understand what their intentions are, but some of them approach it a little more aggressively, and it's just difficult conversations that you have to have. But so now to the positives, the most rewarding is hands down the kids. I love. And like I told you, before, I love watching people. I love sporting events. I love the events, and I love watching our kids compete. And I love watching them grow from freshman year to senior year and see the growth. Sometimes it's like they're growing right in front of my eyes. And it's so much fun to watch the quiet one find their voice on the field. And it's, I think it's just rewarding to me when I see them getting the same thing I got out of athletics that I got from athletics. So that's always going to be the most rewarding, I think. The long hours don't bother me too much. And actually, physical work, it just gives me some steps. It tries to get me in shape. Sitting in front of a computer is tough. And, everybody knows what that does, from this year.
Yeah. And like you said, the things you talked about are true. It is difficult and it's different for parents than it was years ago.
Yes.
Remember, playing athletic, being involved in different sports. My parents took a hands off. I mean, that's just how that was back in the day. Like, you took a hands off approach. You trusted in the coaches and the personnel, and that's what it was. Even when it goes to kids that were going to college, like that was a coach's thing. Like, okay, well, if you're a college material, well, the coach will tell me, and like that's how that will be. Now it's more of, parents have kind of taken on that role of, with social media and those type of things. Kids have their own social media accounts that have highlights of their videos and things that they've done athletically. So it's a lot invested. There's way more invested in kids athletically than it was, back in the day. If I would ask my dad, I wanted to go to a camp or something, he'd be like, thought I lost my mind. Like, what? You go to a sports camp, you must be crazy. Like,
Yeah.
no, like if you're athletically gifted enough, then somebody will find you, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
The mindset's totally different, has totally changed,
Yeah.
and that's kind of like what we deal with. And like I said, I don't think parents have any type of ill intentions. I just think they love their kids and they just want the best for them.
Absolutely.
And it just comes out in crazy ways sometimes. But
It does.
um, I would say that we've dealt with our share of that. And that's anywhere, in our county and beyond,
Yeah.
where you have those conversations, the difficult conversations with parents and kids. So I appreciate you, sharing that. Um, for probably the more difficult question, it's Women's History Month. So I wanted to ask you from a woman's perspective, have you had to deal with any type of gender related issues growing up, or as you transition to becoming an athletic director in the county?
I mean, gender issues like almost kind of like
Like
discriminating with, I
discrimination,
guess,
yeah.
women or something.
Mhm.
I think every woman has to deal with that in some way, shape, or form. I mean, you're, going into an engineer, if you're the new engineer in this company and you're with all men, I think they're going to question your, are you smart enough? Can you handle this? And, you know, I think it started when I was young, when we had those neighborhood football and basketball and baseball games. Like, back in the 70s, it was the dominant males in the groups who were the captains, and they picked teams, and girls were always picked last. So it took a couple games, and I started getting picked before the boys. So that started like, okay, so I had to prove myself. And I think that everybody's always doing that, not just women, but men have to prove themselves. If you're the new guy on the team, you got to prove yourself. So I think as women, we sometimes it's a little harder. Like I had to prove that, gain that respect from those, big boys that like I could keep up with them. Career, yeah, I mean, when I was a coach, I was, I was, I never, I always embraced my femininity. I coached on the sidelines of basketball with heels. I dressed up. I wanted these girls to say, look, I can manage this game, and I can be strong, and I can go up against that male coach and talk to these male officials and not step back, and I'm going to do this in heels. And I, yeah, have I been propositioned by people? Yeah, that's happened. And, and I've been
Terrible.
propositioned by a parent at a game. I mean, things like that do happen.
Mhm.
And, with being an athletic director, when I first got this job, it was, I got the job before the next season, before I actually came to the school, before the school
Mhm.
year was over. And it just so happened that it was the weekend came up of the athletic director conference, state conference that we have every year. And I got permission to go as the new, Carroll County athletic director. Now, the athletic directors in this county either knew me as an athlete or a coach. So I was very comfortable with them. They knew who I was already. So it was never any type of nerves going into this group. They accepted me right away. It didn't matter my gender, but going to this conference, it was kind of funny. A lot of the other state ADs didn't know who I was yet, and I was the new AD. And it was kind of funny to watch like the animal kingdom dance, like who could puff out their chest or beat their chest harder, or who has the prettiest feathers to show. And it was really amusing. But I think when I'm pretty a strong person, and being involved in athletics for a long time, and it's really helped build my confidence, and I know who I am. So having more more honest and direct conversations with these guys, then they started like accept me like, oh, okay, you're just another athletic director. But what I do now, like if anybody like is, if I feel it's inappropriate or growing up, I'm working in a man's world and I get it. I totally am. I signed up for this and I know that I'm a minority when we have these big meetings, and I don't mind. I don't get intimidated. But if if somebody treats me differently because of my gender and may say something, what I do now, since I'm a mom of a daughter, I put myself, I think, what would I want Jordan to do if this happened to her?
Right.
And so I try to respond the way I would want her to respond, because, when somebody asks you for advice, it's so easy to give other people advice. Like, oh yeah, do this, 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 this. But when it comes time for you, you'd never want to take your own advice. You kind of want to, and I'm a pleaser and I want to make people happy. And so I learned to be tactful in my responses and try to be kind when doing it, but firm enough. And I think if I would tell my daughter to do this, if this happened to her, that's how I should respond. So I wouldn't, I don't want to be a hypocrite. So I try to respond now when things like that come up. How would I want her to do it? And that's how I do it. So yeah, I think anytime you're a female, and like in my position in a quote unquote man's world, and where you're their male dominant and I'm, you're going to run into some issues, but you have to be strong and have support, to handle that, which I do. So that's a positive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I'm sorry that you had to go through any kind of difficult times, along the way. I mean, we joke and we laugh about different things. I think you're a great sport at it. And I don't see you backing down to anybody or any parent that wants to, ask you out for a date and be inappropriate while you're trying to do your job. But I do see a tremendous amount of respect for you, with referees, with other coaches, definitely with our other athletic directors in CCPS, and beyond. So I think that's a testament to you and how you kind of like handle yourself each and every day. And I think that's part of it. Like, how do you go about handling yourself each and every day where people, take you seriously, and you have like that line that's drawn like, okay, I'm about my business. Like, hopefully you're about yours, because that's what I'm about. And you do a great job of building those positive relationships with people. So, there's a comfortability, but they also know that there's a line there as well. So I appreciate you answering that question, because that's a tough one. That's not an easy one.
Well,
But
I mean, yeah.
I have to ask it because it's
No, it's such an honest question, and honestly, I would have been surprised if you didn't ask that, especially given the month we're in, or But I think being a female too, like I have that nurturing quality, so that's why I try, to be kind when I'm strong and tactful. I think that, I'm fortunate to have that, that ability. So, I appreciate you saying those things.
Yeah, along the ways, I know you probably have many of these because of what you kind of accomplished in your athletic career and beyond. But who is and still is a hero for you, and what kind of gives you motivation day to day to do what you're doing?
I mean, it's gonna sound cliche. My parents are my heroes. I mean, I can't stress enough that, like, the support system, the love, the laughter, the values they instilled in me and my brother and sisters. Such good role models. I mean, there are grown kids who we grew up with who still, like ask about them, and they love, they just, I can't tell you enough how fortunate I am to have had the childhood and the parents I have. Honestly, like my biggest fans, they're like my big support system. When I'm a mom, like when I was growing, like raising my kids, like I, in my head, like was emulating my mom. Like she would pack our lunches and leave notes on special days inside, and I do that, and I did that when I was packing their lunches, and just little things that I like, little touches that my parents didn't realize like they did, for us. And honestly, probably the first person outside of my family who I really just looked up to and respected so much was my high school basketball coach. She actually grew up in Carroll County, great family, and she was a beast basketball player. She went on to play at Memphis State, and she came back and coached, and she was my coach for 4 years and then she left and coached in college. And she just coached with. This was when a lot of female coaches were not as, you see the Pat Summits, but like,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't see a lot of women coaches. And I thought it was just so important that I had, like, I was lucky to have her as a coach. She just coached us. She was firm. She had expectations, and we all, had the goals, but she just did it with such grace and such class, when she was going up against these guys. And it, honestly, when I coached, I had that coaching job, as high school basketball coach, that's who I tried to be. That's who I tried to emulate when I did that. So, my parents, obviously, luckily I can call them my heroes, but like, my basketball coach had a big impact on my life. I thought she was outstanding. And the thing that motivates me, I mean, honestly, I think it's just being good at what I do. I got a lot of positive attention growing up because of athletics, and that was good. So like, when you love something or you love to do something, you want people to know, and you put a lot of energy into it. And
Yeah.
I love my job, and I want to be good at it. I'm competitive as hell. I mean, I love competition, and I don't look at this as a competition, but I just want to be good at it. Being a parent, being a mom, I want to be good at it because it's what I love to do. So I think it's just, honestly, what motivates me is there's always room for improvement, and I got to figure it out because I want to be good at it. And I'm going to mess up and stumble on the way, and I have to be humble enough to say, look, I screwed up. I got to fix this. And but I think that's what motivates me, just to be good. I think that's just the athlete and competitor in me.
Yeah, well, I had the pleasure of meeting your father. We have our
Yeah.
Veterans Day,
Oh
assembly.
yeah.
We missed that this year, but
Yeah. He loves that.
oh, yeah, he loves being honored. So, you can tell, just by your parents what they kind of instilled in you. So I'm not surprised that you mentioned that as them being your heroes, because I can see that each and every day, and they live through you. So that's awesome. Um, I guess so. Um, another question that's geared towards women. What do you think that women have progressed over the years? You say the 70s to now, like, and is there still more work that needs to be done as you look at it from a woman's perspective?
They've definitely progressed, and there's always work to be done. If you stop doing work, it stops getting better. I mean, if people would have stopped the first rotary phone, we would have never had, like, if people did stopped working at it, like, it's never, um, it's we're never going to figure out if there can be even better.
Mhm.
But as far as women, progressing, like, absolutely. I mean, I can be the obvious, like, yeah, we can vote now, and we can run companies, and I think people, women have taken on roles and careers that a lot of people never thought that could be done. I watched it growing up. Like I said, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and like I said, I had a lot of men who were coaches, and I hit high school, and there were some female coaches, and I thought, wow, this is really cool to see. And I think we had women in space, and women, doctors, and this is I think it's always going to take a while, but I think we're moving in the right direction. I do see progression, and there's always work to be done.
I know when it relates to sports, something that I thought I would probably never see that I see now is women referees. I didn't in male sports.
NFL, yes.
I really honestly never thought that I would see that. Not saying I'm a sexist individual, but like, it's just not
No.
something you never really thought that would actually like happen. And it's happened so seamlessly, and they've done such a phenomenal job. Um, It's just kudos to a lot of women out there that, anything is really, really possible. And I know there's women that are not only that, women, female coaches at the NFL level.
Right.
So they have a couple of those already, at least some
Yeah.
interns that I know of. I don't know if they've got, but I mean, it's going to happen where eventually you will start having, female coaches for male dominated
Right.
sports. I truly believe that before,
Yeah.
our time is done here. So that's crazy when you think about the level of progression in sports like that.
Yeah. And it's true. I think as the generations move on, it's going to be more accepting. I mean, I'm sure like people my dad's age would be like, are you kidding me? And that's just the way they grew up. And to see NFL like officials and
They might not play the game. They might have been like, wait a second, where's the real referees at?
yeah,
Like,
we actually have an official in Carroll County who, I mean, she officiates, baseball and football and basketball, and I think pretty soon, when it starts to becoming commonplace, I think that's going to be where we've hit that next level. Right now, people might like take, it's making big news because it's so new, but I think, years from now, hopefully it starts becoming just common, and it's like, oh yeah, and we don't talk about it anymore.
right, right. So, what does Women's History Month mean to you?
To be honest, I never really thought about it. I mean, you're celebrating women's achievements and I guess recognizing any type of struggles they have had in the past. And when you asked me to do this, I was surprised. I was honored. Don't get me wrong. I was very honored and humbled. And I thought, I am definitely not at the level of like an Anne Frank or a Rosa Parks or somebody like that. But not a lot of people are. But I figure, if I can make an impact, if women could just make an impact in their own bubble, if I can make an impact, if I had a positive impact on the girls I coached or the girls who see me as an athletic director, and it pushes them to strive to do something out of the box, and that's not as prevalent now. Like if I can be have a positive impact on them, then I'm doing my part. And I feel like I think if everybody does that, and you reach a lot of young females who can see something different in themselves, and I think that we can all play a part. We don't have to be like extraordinary.
Listen, you say all that, but then you go to community college, and I was at a conference one time, and they had a little Hall of Fame, and like I see your plaque up there. Like when you reach certain levels, and it's different institutions, and they honor you as being a member of their Hall of Fame. It's more than just what you've done athletically. It's the type of person you are. Because I tell people that all the time. We talk about that. We're trying to build our own Hall of Fame here at Winners Mill. Like, you don't want some drunken person being, I mean, they might have been great and they might hold all the records, but you don't going to say, hey, come on back, let us honor you. And then you're up there staggering around and
Right.
cursing people out. It still matters the type of character and the person that you are, right? And for you, that means a lot in this county. It is a lot. You don't think of yourself that way. Um, but people know who you are. If you say Jen Gosselin, I mean, especially in Carroll County, I mean, I don't know too many people that don't, know who you are or whatever. I was probably the only person that was like, who? Wait, what are you talking about?
I mean, athletics was good to me, and honestly, athletics was so good to me. I don't ever want to put a smear on it. So I always want to like represent, and I want to be a good person, and not like obviously that's back to like my parents. They taught us how to my siblings and me how to be good people and do our best. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate you saying that and that plaque, but
So last question, and we do. I say this because I'm hoping that kids will watch this interview. If you had advice to give yourself when you were 17 years old, I know it's going a little ways back, but you go to FSK. Like, what would you say? What would you say to her?
um, I mean, I think advice is timeless. It doesn't matter when I was 17. I think one of the things I would tell anybody, but I would tell, choose to do things that bring you joy, to make you happy. If you love to play the piano, but you're never going to be a famous pianist, find time to play the piano. Choose to do things that bring you joy. And if it happens to work out that you can make a living doing it, good for you. Try not to pay attention to the should be people. Like, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. So I always say, like, do things that are going to bring you joy. Like, I think that's a big thing, especially nowadays. Another thing I would probably tell them is take chances, ask questions, and don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. I think teenagers have a hard time stepping out of their comfort zone. I think they're afraid of how it's going to look. I think they're afraid of change, and it's scary. It's funny because I just had a conversation with my son the other day, and he had talked about how me and his dad, when we like my dad and his dad and I, when we raised our kids, we sometimes put them in uncomfortable situations. Nothing dangerous, nothing that would harm them, but put them in situations that, you're going to need to know that you need to do this on your own. We're going to walk you through, but you're going to do this. And I think by doing that, it really helped. And that was our mindset. We thought that was going to help. And I just had a conversation with him the other day, and he said, you and Dad put us in uncomfortable situations sometimes, and it really helped, and it helped me with this. So it kind of validated what we did, and I was so happy, because you always want to hear positive things, especially in something that you love doing. So that was a good thing. So don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. And the last thing I would probably tell myself is, don't stress over things that are out of your control. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Sometimes the answer is yes, it will matter in 5 years. And a lot of times it's, no. I used to worry about things all the time, like, oh, I got this, and then now I take a step back when that happens, and I say, 5 years from now, is that going to bother me? I mean, just driving here today, someone pulls out in front of me and is going 20 miles an hour. It's such a pet peeve. So, instead of getting angry, I'm thinking, is this going to matter 5 years? It's going to matter 5 minutes from now. No. So try not to stress too much. I know kids are stressed now because it's a different time, and it's a really crazy year we've been in, and I know they're stressing about things that are important to them. And I'm not trying to downplay importance to what they're stressed about, but try and sit back, reach out to your support systems, and say, is this going to matter 5 years from now? It's out of my control. I can't do anything to change it. So let's either attack it or move on.
Yeah, that's powerful, and I think that we worry too much about things that we can't control, and while we're focused in on that, we kind of miss opportunities that can really help us out. And that I try to tell people, like, don't let your frustrations get the best of you in certain things, because it's you're going to miss out on another opportunity while you're sitting around mad for 24, 48 hours or whatever. You're missing out on a real opportunity. I can remember being in school, and this is how it is when you're a kid. It's like, you ever had a situation where, you may getting into a physical altercation with somebody, or you have a verbal altercation. These individuals end up being like really good friends of mine. So this opportunity came out, but like, you can't hold a grudge. Man, I'll never talk to this person ever again. Like,
right.
Now, even to this day, they are good and dear friends of mine. But we didn't see eye to eye when we first met, like, not at all. So, you bring up some interesting points. Again, I'm so humbled and thankful for you doing this interview. I know you got a busy schedule. You probably got all your clothes you get ready to change into to go out to the fields and everything else.
That's my life. I love it. I always tell myself I do love it. Like, even when the wind's blowing and I'm trying to do things, I love it. But yes, it's physical labor sometimes, and it's mental, like, labor. But you know what? I do love it. And yes, I've been very busy lately, but I appreciate your support, and people at Winners Mill. It's been very welcoming since the day I got here, and I'm very, I'm honored that you even thought about me for Women's History Month, and to even think about and interviewing me, and so I thank you for that.
No problem, Jen. Well, you keep doing big things. If you make any more Hall of Fames, let me know. All right.
First one to know. Okay, I'll let you know.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right.